Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Dewi Purnamasari. My student ID is 120060012. I'm from Class 1A PBI. I will present the results of the final exam for the Introduction to Literature course. I will convey several points, namely about poetry, prose, and drama. Let's start right away. The first point is poetry. I'm going to read a poem called Hope by Emily Dickinson. Hope is subtle good tone. He feeds upon the fair, and yet spread it closely. What abstinence is there? His is the hell contable that never sits but one, and whatsoever is consumed, the same amounts remain. Emily Dickinson, often misrepresented as Emily Dickinson, born on December 30, 1830, and died on May 15, 1886. She was 50 years old. She is from the state of Massachusetts, one of the United States, but who is best known for her works of poetry in the past. There are 1,800 poetry works that have been written, which are still famous today. She is famous for her verses, which are full of taste words and uniquely. Emily spent most of her life in her house. Hope can be both a wonderful light in the darkness, a thing with feathers, as she says in her other poem. But it changes nothing. To hope for something is not to have that thing. To those imprisoned or enslaved, hope can allow them to live through the darkest horror. But it does not change the fact that they are still imprisoned. Hope can allow people to abstain from having the thing they want, from getting the object of their desire, from changing their circumstance. A person can still have hope things will change without doing anything to make it happen, thus feeding upon itself. The second point is prose. I will review the novel Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. But before that, I will convey a brief biography of Charles Dickens first. Charles Dickens was born in 1812. When he was 5 years old, he moved with his family to Chatham. He had a very hard childhood owing to economic problems that his family had. When he was 12, he started working in a factory. Their economy improved when they received the inheritance of his maternal grandmother. He married Catherine Hogarth, with who had 10 children. He died in 1870 at the age of 58 years in Kent, England. The novel follows the journey of the titular character, Oliver Twist. Oliver, an orphan since birth, spends much of his childhood at a child farm orphanage with too many children and little food. The farm is located roughly 70 miles outside London. One night, after being served his portion of gruel, Oliver asked for a second helping. This is unacceptable, and Oliver is sent to work as an apprentice to an undertaker. Eventually, after suffering repeated mistreatment, Oliver runs away and heads for London. He soon finds himself in the presence of the awful Dodger, who tells him to stay at the house of an old gentleman named Fagin. With a number of other boys, Oliver learns that these boys are trained pickpockets. On an outing, Oliver witnessed the boys take a handkerchief from Mr. Brownlow, an elderly man, which prompts Oliver to run away in fear and confusion. The elderly man mistakes Oliver's behavior for guilt and has him arrested. However, after learning more about Oliver, Mr. Brownlow realizes his mistake and offers to take care of him at his home. Oliver assumes that he is now rid of Fagin and the pickpocket, but his knowledge of their crimes causes them to seek Oliver out. Nancy, a prostitute and mistress of one of Fagin's men, Bill Sakes, is sent to take Oliver from Mr. Brownlow back to Fagin. She does so successfully, and Oliver is sent on a burglary mission with another member of the group to the countryside around London. On this errand, Oliver is shot in the arm and then is taken in by the family, the Maylis, that he attempted to rob. While he is there, Fagin and a man named Monk fought to get him back, Rose Maylie. While on a trip to London with her family, meets with Mr. Brownlow to talk with Nancy, who has slipped away from Sakes, to explain the plans made by Monks and Fagin to get Oliver back. She describes Monks and tells them when he might most easily be apprehended. Unfortunately for Nancy, news of her betrayal reaches Sakes, and he beats her to death. Sakes accidentally hangs himself soon after. The Maylis reunite Oliver with Mr. Brownlow, who forces Monks to explain himself. The reader and Oliver are then informed that Monks is Oliver's half-brother and that Oliver is entitled to a large fortune. He receives his share of the money. Fagin is hung, and the Maylis, Oliver, and Mr. Brownlow move to the countryside, where they spend the rest of their days together. Oliver Twist, a good young man, always struggles to achieve the freedom he dreams of and never gives up to achieve that freedom. Mr. Sowerberry, kind-hearted parents who are willing to accept Oliver Twist when he is out and want to take care of him with a sincere heart. Miss Sowerberry. Wife of Mr. Sowerberry, who has a cruel nature and treats people inappropriately and likes to execrate small things. Noah Claypole. A child who likes to make noise with Oliver Twist and makes Oliver Twist unbearable because of this child's behavior. He likes to slander and prank the people around him. Arthur Dogner. The person who Oliver Twist first met when he was in London and invited Oliver Twist to meet with Fagin and then teach people to do evil. Fagin. The boss of bad boys in London, whose job is to get the kids to steal things to fulfill their needs in a bad way. Nancy. Mike of Mr. This Brownlow is a kind person, takes very good care of Oliver Twist, and is loyal to his employer, Mr. Brownlow. Bill Sakes, Fagin's friend who makes Oliver Twist always in misery and has a foul nature and doesn't want to forgive people. The third or final point is drama. I will convey a summary of the drama entitled The Story Wrong Number, which is searched from YouTube. Then I will answer some questions related to the drama. Summary of the drama Story Wrong Number tells the story of Mrs. Albert Stevenson, an invalid woman confined to her bed, who becomes increasingly frantic as the story progresses. The drama begins with Mrs. Stevenson attempting to call her husband, who is working late, frustrated with the busy signal. She seeks the help of the operator, who connects her through to what she assumes is her husband's office phone. Instead of hearing his familiar voice, she listens in on a conversation where two men are plotting a murder. The victim is a woman, home alone, who lives near a bridge. The men plan for the attack to take place just as the train crosses the bridge, so the sound will make any screams from the victim. Horrified by what she hears, Mrs. Stevenson calls the operator to demand that she trace the source of this call. The operator explains that only the police can pass through a request like that, and so begins 20 minutes of calls to the police, telephone operators, and even to the phone company's chief operator as Mrs. Stevenson attempts to alert someone to the gravity of the situation. None of the people she talks to will acknowledge that she is in any danger. Meanwhile, the audience learns that Mr. Stevenson has been confined to her bed for 12 years with anxiety issues. No one on the phone has the answers she's seeking, and her anxiety mounts, building suspense that her health may be at risk. The drama culminates in a scene where Mrs. Stevenson becomes certain that she is the target of the murder. After all, She lives near a train that crosses a bridge, and when she hears that her husband has left town on business, she knows that she will be at home alone at the designated time for the attack. In the final minutes, she hears an intruder listening on the downstairs in phone, and then she picks out both steps coming up the stairs. She hastily calls the police for help, and just before they answer the phone, her terrified screams let the audience know that she has been caught by the killer. The drama ends when the police ask about the nature of the killer's emergency. The killer picks up the phone, explains that he's fine, and says that he never meant to dial the police. He apologizes for dialing a wrong number and hangs up. Mr. Stevenson went to Boston for his business trip. Mrs. Stevenson overhears a conversation in which two men plot a murder. The victim was a woman alone at home who lived near the bridge, and it was himself who would be the victim, so it frightened him. In New York City, her neurotic and invalid state. So that's all I can say. Thank you for watching. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.